All right. How you doing, Pops?
I am living the life of waiting for my son to say we're actually going to record now, and I just really have no idea when it's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That's okay. Apparently, he understands I don't really have much going on in my life right now.
retirement, social distancing. I don't know what else there is to do. All right. So you
I
did.
I might put on my face mask during this just to protect you.
No, no, don't joke about that. That's serious. That's
Yeah.
serious. Um, so you did. You sent me something very interesting yesterday that I think our audience would really enjoy. And we deal with it all the time when we work for our customers, for our clients, when we're working on car deals. You have to consider the trade-in value of your used car, right? When you go to
Yes.
the dealership, you might trade a car in, and that goes towards the financing or buying your next car. You sent me an article, and I forget exactly what the headline was, but then I did some digging around it, and the meat and potatoes of this is that used car prices on the wholesale market are down more than 10% year over year. And that
Are,
data,
are down about 10% through the first 15 days of April.
yes, yes,
Yes.
thank you. And
From April of last year.
yeah,
Well, actually, from March of just 20 days ago or 22 days ago, whatever it is now.
yeah, yes. And then they also did some comparison to year over year, and it was still around 10 or 11%. So no matter how you slice it, on the wholesale market, used car values, not the volume of cars that are being sold, nothing like that. Just the values of used cars are worth 10% less today than they were even a month ago. Now, when we look at that, we're getting that information from Cox Automotive, which owns Manheim. And I think you've talked about in some videos in the past Manheim, but maybe just give a brief overview for those that are new. What's Manheim and how does it work?
Manheim Auto Auctions, they're the leading auto auctions, and they have locations throughout the country. The original location is in, well, get this, Manheim, Pennsylvania, hence the name Manheim Auto Auctions. And they're the largest purveyor of auction cars in the country.
Yep.
And they're owned by Cox Automotive. And because Cox owns them, they're able to track used car pricing, wholesale pricing in real time, and give you what's known as the Manheim Market Report, which is what the relative value of a car is based on what dealers have been paying for them at the auctions within the past few days.
Yep. And with a lot of auctions, if not all auctions, for at least a period of time being closed, it was hard to collect data. It was a shock unlike anything we've ever seen. But now that that information is coming in, we've actually seen from some of the Manheim market reports some positive indicators, like from the last report to this report. I think sales previously had been down. So this is now retail sales had previously been down 72%. And this most recent report, it was closer to 50%.
Yes.
Well, devastating, but better. But this
Yeah.
indicator of used car prices on the wholesale market, the value is 10% less. So the question I had for you, Ray, and the
Yeah.
question that I think our audience has as well, if they're thinking about buying a car, is what impact does wholesale pricing have on my pocketbook, my Volvo S90 that I'm trying to get rid of? What impact will that 10% have on me?
It's going to reduce the value of your car by a minimum of 10%. Typically, cars values go down between $250 and $500 a month, typically. Um, but they're going down faster because of the pandemic and the slowdown in sales. What isn't going down equally as fast is the retail end of things. So retail pricing might have dropped 1%, while wholesale costs have dropped 10%. And if I was a customer, the question that I would be concerned with is, well, why haven't the retail prices dropped as significantly as the wholesale prices?
And just to add some context to that, I mean, part of the report did state that retail prices have dropped 1%, like you said. It's not might have, they did drop 1%,
Yeah.
and the wholesales dropped 10%. So you're right, there is a huge chasm there.
Yes, and you're probably curious as to why.
I
And
mean,
And I have a
Partly
supposition.
frustrated.
Uh,
Partly curious, but also partly frustrated because if you're going to buy a used car, you think you're getting a good deal, but not quite yet.
Not quite yet. And here's the reason, one of the reasons why, what I believe could be a reason why. If you're a dealer, and let's say on April 1st, you had $3 million worth of used car inventory that you had purchased prior to April 1st. And by April 15th, that used car inventory had lost 10% of its real value, of its wholesale value. Your dealership, on paper, has just lost $300,000 in, well, 15 days. So as the dealer, what do? Well, it's like buying stocks. You cost average. You buy low and you average it out over the cost of all your cars. So if you have, say, 10 Lexus RX 400s that you own for too much money, and you buy 10 more at a 10% reduction, you cost average. And now suddenly your whole inventory might be 5% higher than it should be, as opposed to 10% higher than it should be.
So I have an interesting thought, though. Oh, go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
And so because of that, dealers at this point don't feel enough pressure to reduce the retail pricing enough to make up for it. Now, if sales continue to slide 50 to 60 to 70% a month, and the need for cash flow becomes greater, then you will see the reduction in the retail asking price as well.
But I guess my question to you would be, because I appreciate that theory, and I think you're probably onto something. But my poke a hole at it would be, if dealers are buying on the wholesale market because they want to drive down the average costs of their inventory, that implies that there should be an increase in demand on the wholesale market. An increase in demand should yield an increase in price on the wholesale market, wouldn't it? If there's more dealers interested in buying inventory to get it at a cheaper rate. You know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly what you're trying to say, and all dealers would love to be able to be in a position to do that. Quite a few, or most, might not be in that position, might not have the available cash flow or credit lines to be able to do that.
Gotcha.
That's
I wasn't. Yeah. Because I remember reading an article in Automotive News about how some dealers handled 07, 08, 09, and a lot of dealers just kept buying more and more cars and said this is the best opportunity we have, because they had extendable credit lines and things like that. The dealers that don't, obviously, are cash strapped. You can't buy that.
there's an old saying in the car business, especially when it comes to used cars, that you make your money when you buy them, not when you sell them, when you buy them. Because if you buy them right, when you sell them, you'll do all right. But if you buy them wrong, when you sell them, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So the profits are made when you buy the car, not necessarily when you sell the car.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting point. So when do you think? So there's two questions I have in mind. When do we think we're going to see on the retail side a decline of more than 1% in used car pricing? And two, the second question is, as a consumer, if I am going to trade a vehicle in, should I be waiting to trade it in? Like, how much in the hole am I? What would you do if you were in that situation? I mean, and I'm asking for myself because I have a car I'm trying to get rid of right now.
I am well aware of that for you. And at a certain point, you're going to have to look at what your monthly expenses are to maintain that car, to hold on to that car, as opposed versus how much you keep losing on that car. And at a certain point, you're going to go, it's just not worth the expense, watching the depreciation continue to go down more rapidly than it would have in the past. So my supposition is that you're going to decide to bite the bullet sooner rather than later, because it's not going to improve on the wholesale end for a while, because it can't until things get back to somewhat normal. So I think that dealers that are cash flow poor now,
Yeah,
I think in the next 30 to 60 days, we'll see them starting to really significantly lower the price of their pre-owned inventory.
sure.
Dealers that have the credit lines available and can wait longer will continue to buy as many cars as they can afford to at the lower prices, so that they'll be in a better position when things stabilize. But that's a small percentage of dealers that are actually in that cash position.
And one of the things that you and I have talked about extensively, just about this whole coronavirus pandemic and how it's impacted the car business, is how there really isn't a playbook from the past to draw on for like how to handle this type of scenario in this situation, right? Now, one of the interesting things from the Manheim Market Report was they mentioned the last time that wholesale prices actually fell as much as they currently have. And it was back
Hmm.
fall of 2008. The index fell 10.5% over the course of 2 months. So over a longer period of time, but it was down over 10%. And the
Hmm.
report says here, I've got it pulled up in front of me, yet vehicle sales or vehicle values, excuse me, fully recovered after.
Within 7 months. Yeah, I read that. Yeah, but this is different than that. That was a credit crunch.
Yeah,
This is completely different. This is multiple factors. Um, I don't think that there's necessarily a credit crunch, as there's so many other factors involved.
yeah.
Um, Social distancing, stay-at-home orders,
No,
uh, the massive increase in unemployment.
yeah,
There are suspicions that unemployment levels could reach 25 to 30% unemployed within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
yeah, yeah.
Well, look, that's Depression era unemployment, and that will impact car sales more than what we saw in the Great Recession.
Sure.
That to me is the big difference.
Yeah, and obviously there are differences. I guess the reason I bring it up is to suggest that the expectation is that wholesale and retail prices will ultimately end up back in the same place, a fair market value. The path to getting there is unknown how long it will take. And you and I would surmise that on the wholesale side, it's going to continue to be deflated. And on the retail side, it'll eventually catch up as more and more dealers run out of cash on hand.
I believe, in my heart of hearts, having done this as long as I have,
Yeah.
um, that the recovery to um, normalized retail used car pricing won't be anywhere near 7 months. Might be closer to 12 months, 15 months, 18 months, something like that. When you read, as I read today, that experts are predicting that, say, Disney won't be able to open up their parks, Disneyland and Disney World, until 2021. Well, that gives you some concept as to how long things are going to remain dramatically different than what they were 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
And that how long could be a year or more.
Yep.
I mean, we will see some relaxation of some of the guidelines that we're living under today, but it won't be anything like what we were used to for 12 to 18 months, maybe longer.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, they're saying that, best case scenario, well, they're saying that they hope they have a vaccine by March of 2021. And maybe they can speed that up a little bit. And if they can speed it up a little bit, that might be, I don't know, take a month or two off of that.
No, I understand, right? But I think our audience also recognizes that there are all sorts of different approaches and thoughts as to how long the coronavirus pandemic is going to last. And really where we can provide guidance and counsel and your wisdom is if you're stuck with a used car right now, and if you're in my shoes and you're stuck with a used car that you don't necessarily need or want, bite the bullet, is your suggestion. And
I
then,
hate to say that to you, but yeah, that's really what you probably need to look at. The precipitous continuation of the decline in its value um, will be going on for several more months.
yep, And then the other area of interest for our audience is going to specifically be if you're in the used car market. So if you're in the market to buy a car, today isn't the right day to do it. On the retail side, we're not seeing data that suggests that prices are actually that attractive relative to where we think they're going to go, which leads me to the final question I want to ask you, Ray, which is using your magic 8 ball, you know, when do you think we're going to see that bottoming out of used car prices? And I know this is a guess, but give us your educated assumption as to when that bottoming out might happen.
I think for most dealers, the cash flow situation will become severe within another 60 to 90 days,
Yeah.
so that you should see a precipitous drop in the retail values that they're asking for the cars, because they need to turn their inventory, they need to develop some cash, and their inventory is going down in value rapidly. The
Yep.
longer it sits, the bigger the hit they're taking. So they need to get out of those older cars sooner rather than later. So I would think 60 to 90 days is what we're really looking at, is where you should be able to get some extremely good deals on pre-owned cars. And you have to be careful, especially with dealers that are in a suspicious cash flow situation now, because bad things happen when dealers become desperate in the sense that they don't have enough cash on hand. And oftentimes what happens when they do sell cars and the cars are floor planned, they sometimes delay or forget to pay the bank for the car that they've sold. That's known as being out of trust. And lenders come after the dealers wanting to know. Go ahead.
Did one of your former employers end up going to jail for that?
Um,
I remember. Yeah.
they get sued. They get sued. They usually reach settlements. I do know of one or two that it was so outrageous that, yeah, there was some jail time involved.
Yeah.
But lenders are going to be more suspicious of what's going on a little more quickly. Obviously, they're willing to work with dealers a little bit right now, but they know they do floor plan checks every month to make sure that the cars that the dealer says is on the lot or are on the lot are actually on the lot. And if they're not, then the lender wants to know where they are. And if they've been sold, they want to know why they haven't been paid off.
Definitely. And just to make sure everyone that's watching this video is clear, floor planning and floor plan at the dealership is the financing that they take out to actually finance the vehicles that sit on the in the showroom and on the lot. So just like you and I have to finance a car, we don't pay cash. It's not like the dealership pays cash for the hundreds of cars that are sitting on there.
Yes, that is correct.
So right. So summing things up here, you're sitting on a used car you don't need. Bite the bullet. Go to CarMax. Go get rid of it. Go to your local dealer. Try to get rid of it, but good luck.
Yeah, it's only going to be worse next month.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, I know that more than anyone. And if you're about to buy a used car, see if you can wait 60 to 90 days. See if you can wait till, let's say, June, July, and that's when you really get great prices.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's some pretty valuable information and some good insight. If you like content like this, be sure to subscribe. Ray's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Like literally, we physically cannot leave where we live. So we'll be talking about more and more of these topics. If you have something you'd like us to talk about, put it in the comments below or send us a message. We'd be happy to address it, right?
Hey, whatever our customers need or whatever folks need, we're here. We're here for them.